Hello and welcome to the monthly Q&A for March. If you would like to get your question answered in a Q&A like this one, then head on over to ask.fm/Sharmalade and I will do my best to answer your question as long as it's not too rude. Hey Sharm, I was wondering if you heard the song Nocturne by Celtic Woman. If not, here's a link. Think your voice would sound amazing with this song. Also, are you ever open to make new friends? All the best to you and Ian, from Rachel Collins. Thank you, Rachel. I may have heard that song. I know of Celtic Woman, Celtic Woman, I never know how to pronounce that word. So I may have heard that song, but the thing is, right, here's the deal. My patrons get to suggest songs to me and they kind of come first, so I will check it out, and if it totally grabs my inspiration then it might be something that I will record. And am I open to making new friends? Well, online friends, sure, but you have to be a gamer. That's like the #1 rule if you want to be a friend. Would you rather be sick every day with a cold but you could never be sick with anything else, or every time you get sick it's only for one day but it is as intense as it can be? From Cage, the not orc, panda orc. Cage again with these weird questions. I think I would rather be sick for one day but as intense as it can be, because otherwise if I was sick every day with a cold then I'd never be able to sing and that would suck. Hi Sharm, are you Arwen's daughter because you are pretty enough to be? Oh, thank you. Did you write this though when I was a brunette? Because since then I've gone down the bloody, what's her name, Daenerys route. Maggie is so cute. Did you have any pets before you adopted her? If so, can you tell us their names and a little bit about them? Yes, that I can do for sure. So I'm a huge animal person. I love animals. I love Maggie to bits, but I wish I could have more dogs. I wish I could just have a house full of dogs, but I don't own where I live, so we can't just take animals in willy-nilly. But before Maggie I had a cat called Tinky, and I had her for 19 years, since I was 8 years old. And I loved her like crazy, but I didn't realise how independent cats are, and if I wanted her to come and snuggle with me she never would. But the thing is Tinky was super independent because she came from a rescue. We got her from the rescue place, and before we had her the previous owners had moved house and they left her behind and just left her with a bowl of water and some bread and butter. So Tinky had to learn to fend for herself for a long time before she was discovered. And so when we got her she was very much an outdoors cat. You know, she was the kind of cat that you would let out and she would go away for 2 or 3 days at a time, and then she would come back because she wanted to be fed. And that was kind of it. It was very, very rare with Tinky that she would ever snuggle with me or sleep on the bed with me at night. She just wasn't really interested. And I've seen so many other people's cats who are so vocal and they want to be close to their owners, and Tinky was not like that at all. She was just feed me, let me sleep indoors sometimes, but for the majority of the time I want to be outside. So when I got Maggie from a puppy, I could not believe how needy they are. Dogs are so needy compared to some cats, especially independent cats like Tinky. Maggie needs my attention a lot, and I absolutely love that. I couldn't wish for anything more from an animal that actually trusts me as a human and wants to be in my presence. But before Tinky I had a lot of budgies. My first ever budgie was called Chirpy, and then I had Chirpy 2, and then I had Chirpy Trilogy. And then I kind of had hamsters as well along the way, but their lifespan isn't great. My first budgie lived for years and he was freaking awesome. He learnt to say so many things, and this was when I was probably about 7 or 8 that we had Chirpy. and he like learnt to mimic the phone ringing, so like it was so hilarious. We'd be sitting there and we'd be like, phone's ringing, and we'd realise it was the budgie. And he lived for a long time, but then the rest of the budgies that I got afterwards didn't live for as long, and I think it's just the breeding side of it kind of gets a bit out of control. And with hamsters too, like the owners, I think it's bad breeders. They breed for the money and they just breed badly, and it causes the animals to have a lot of problems. Their lifespan's not as good. The last hamster that I had was Tyrion, and he didn't live for very long at all. I don't know if you guys remembered, I posted some pictures of him, and it wasn't that long ago, it was like last year, and he passed away. And it was really odd how he did, because he went completely bald, like completely bald, and I did everything I could to try and figure out why he had gone bald. Like, why was he losing all of his fur? There was just, so I put it down to bedding. I thought, you know, let's change the bedding, let's change the food, let's change, you know, because it could be allergies, it could be something that's just he's not getting on with. Everything I tried, like I even put sand in there for him because I thought maybe he'd want to, I don't know, like sometimes they bathe in sand, like I'm not sure, I think they do, and I thought that would help, but nothing seemed to help the hair loss, and he just went completely bald. And he seemed completely chipper, like he was fine, he was still running around like a nutter and using his wheel and like completely active. But I think I went through a stage of having a lot of animals from a lot of bad breeders, and I think that's something that you really need to watch out for when you're like getting pets, like you're thinking about getting pets like hamsters and mice and budgies and stuff. Like, make sure that you inquire about the breeder, because you can, like when you go into the store to buy, you can say, you know, who's the breeder, do you know anything about them, how long have you been getting, you know, the hamsters and your pets from them, and they are obliged to tell you, so you can always get a heads up in advance. And you can find out as well, like, have any customers come back and said that their hamster or their pet hasn't, you know, lived for very long or had a lot of problems, so you can always get a heads up before you actually sort of think about getting your pet. But yeah, I mean, I've had loads of pets, and I remember when I turned 10 years old, I begged my mum and my dad for a tortoise. Like, I desperately wanted a tortoise so bad. And I don't know why, because I'm not really a reptile person. Like, you know, I'm more of a sort of give me a dog and a cat and like a bunny, you know, and I'll cuddle those things. You can't really cuddle a tortoise. But anyway, I was obsessed with having a tortoise. And lo and behold, I remember it so clearly on my 10th birthday. It was April 25th, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I went out into the garden, and my dad and my mum were like, come down to the shed at the end and like peek your head round and your present's in there. And I remember just looking into the shed and seeing this cardboard box, and I lifted open the thing and there was all straw in there and there was a tortoise, and I went, oh my god, is that a tortoise? And I lost my breath, and I was like so happy and excited to have this tortoise. And I played with it like every day, and you know, tortoises are really slow though. Like I say, I played with it, I kind of watched it. Like I watched it moving slowly around. But sad story about my tortoise, right? So we had neighbours who had a little boy and a little girl, and I used to play with them every now and then, like just because they were my neighbours. And one day they asked if they could look after the tortoise just overnight, and just sort of look after it for me, and I said yes. And I don't think I asked my mum or anything, it was just sort of like a over the fence chat with the kids and their mum. And I lent them my tortoise and I never got it back. Like I remember like a couple of days passed and I was like, where's my tortoise? And then the mum like came over to the fence one day when I was playing in the garden. I mean, I don't even remember how long after it was that I actually gave them the tortoise. And she came over with her kids and she said, oh, I'm so sorry, but your tortoise got carried away by a fox. And I remember at the time I just went, oh, that's okay, because I was just a little kid. But like looking back, like how bad is that? Because that tortoise was like, my mum and dad told me later on it was like £100. £100 back in like, you know, 1995 is a crazy amount of money. And I don't believe that it got carried off by a fox. I reckon they like took it or sold it. So sad story about the tortoise. Have you watched the Twilight series already? If so, what did you think of it? So first of all, I read all of the Twilight books because I am a huge paranormal romance fan. Like, if you go through my book collection, you will see that it is literally paranormal romance. I am obsessed with it. Obsessed. If you like paranormal romance, or if you want to check it out, I recommend that you be 18 plus first. And two of my favourite authors, if you want to check them out, are Jenna Showalter, which is spelled Gena, and oh, what's the other woman called? And the other author is Cresley Cole, and those are my two all-time favourite paranormal romance authors. Like, I absolutely love their work, but it is kind of steamy, so I advise you to be of age before you know, read it. But yeah, I have read all of the Twilight series and I did really enjoy it. It is very like teeny though, and like very, very tame, but it's kind of bittersweet in that regard. So I absolutely adored all of the books, and I loved the heartache throughout, but the films were such a letdown, such a huge letdown. I would never have had that guy Patterson, whatever his name is, playing the vamp. I just couldn't feel it. And like, what the hell was going on with the makeup as well? Like, everyone's makeup, like for the vamps, was way too vampy. Like, if you saw a family that white and that made up, you'd be like, what's up with them? They're clearly vampires. What's your favourite WoW expansion? Mine is Lich King from Zithros, Tibet. My favourite WoW expansion for sure was the Burning Crusade. I absolutely loved the Burning Crusade. I played WoW in vanilla and I never raided, and my first character was a priest and I leveled her to 60, and the second that I dinged 60 in Winterspring, I got ganked for like an hour by a rogue and a warlock who was sat atop their mount watching me die continuously and just laughing, and I was so angry and embarrassed. But when TBC came out, I was super excited. I don't think I'd ever played a game before that actually had an expansion come out for it, so it was like a completely new experience. And I remember TBC was when Ian and I started our guild as well, which we called Blackwater. I believe it was in TBC, I'm pretty sure it was. And we used to raid Karazhan and Grul's Lair and Maggie, and like, TBC has all the good memories of WoW for me, like the best, good, fresh memories. Absolutely adored that expansion, and I kind of get lost with the expansions. I can't remember if it was Cataclysm after that. I think it was. Cataclysm for me is like so empty. Like, I don't really remember a lot about Cataclysm at all, apart from the zones, but I don't really remember the content that well. And then was it Lich King came out, Wrath of the Lich King? I didn't enjoy that at all. I mean, I enjoyed ICC and I had an awesome raid group at the time called the Core Whip group, and that made that expansion great, the people that I was playing with, the raid group that I was in, but I did not enjoy Wrath of the Lich King. I think that was round about the first time that I remembered seeing in trade chat that people were pugging raids, and that was a new thing. Like, looking for raid now, like people who are kind of new to WoW from, say, Warlords of Draenor, I think, and Wrath of the Lich King, like, pugging raids is quite a normal thing. Like, these days, like with looking for raid and, you know, people looking for DPS and tanks and all sorts, you can pug anything now when you go raiding. Back when I used to play, like in the early days, pugging was crazy. Like, you had to be in a guild and you had to have like a good group to be able to go and raid with, and we never pugged, and the concept of pugging wasn't even really a thing apart from with dungeons. So now they've like Blizzard have definitely turned a corner with being able to pug for raids and stuff, because it's unfair to people who, you know, are working and haven't got the time, or they don't want to be in a guild and they are kind of lone wolves and they just want to play solo. Like, having looking for raid and stuff like that, and having the option to actually be able to pug raids now, I think it's such a good idea, because it gives everyone a chance to be able to experience all of the content and not kind of just take a back seat because it's just kind of impossible for them to do it. Have you ever played any 3DS games? Would you ever consider getting a handheld like that? I have one and it's so much fun. Love from Eternal Angel. Hello, Eternal Angel. I did have a DS, and funny story behind this question actually. I had a DS and I loved it. It was black one, DS Lite, and I used to play like Professor Layton on it and just some other games. And then somehow I spilt my hair oil, like hair serum that you put in your hair, I spilt it into my DS and all the buttons stopped working, and I was gutted because it was a proper nice DS. But funnily enough, my birthday's coming up at the end of this month, and I've asked for a new DS and The Sims 3 and one of the new Professor Layton games, so I'm super excited for my birthday to come now so that I can play it. There's something quite satisfying about having a separate, I mean, because you can get these games like on your phone nowadays and you can play stuff like this on your phone, but there is something quite satisfying about having like a set like console that you can like take to bed and like sit there and play with. Like, it makes me feel cozy and I feel like excited about that. So I'm looking forward to getting a DS for my birthday. I'm such a child. So that is it for this month's Q&A. I'm keeping it short and sweet because I am running super low on questions, but thank you so much to all of you guys who have come in, swooped in and saved the day by sending me like quite a few more questions. I really appreciate that. I'm up to the 3-month mark now, whereas before I was like backdated to almost 2 years. So I'm getting through them pretty quickly. So if you do want to ask me a question, then head on over to ask.fm/Sharmalade and I will do my best to answer it. Have a wonderful week, guys, and I will see you on Friday if you're a patron for the Friday surprise, and if you're not, then I will see you next Monday for the weekly vlog. Have a wonderful week.